unlawfully deprived my son, Weston, of necessary autism therapy. We have been fighting the state of Ohio for 2 years at great financial, emotional, physical cost to our family. Ohio has spent tens of thousands of dollars to oppose us. The future of my son's life depends on these therapies. And I was wondering, does Ohio only help its own employees who have children with autism? Or does Ohio help all families of children who have autism? And this doesn't include the autism scholars.
Well, let me say a couple things to you. You know, for the first time, you know, as you get economic growth, something I didn't mention, we want to make sure that we want to make sure, I don't know how these things work. Okay. The thing was smarter than me. We don't want to leave anybody behind. For the first time in the history of our state, families who have kids who are autistic can get health insurance. They weren't able to get it before. And so we want to make sure we get your name and your number, and we bring the help to you. Now, we've covered a heck of a lot more people in this state, and there's more work to do, and I'm convinced the legislature will complete the job. But it was Christmas about a year, maybe 2 years ago, when I called a lady who was the Joan of Arc fighting for this program of insurance for families, and we got it done. And I called her the week of Christmas. She said it's the best Christmas present I've ever had. So we are very sensitive to this, and if you're not being covered, I need to understand why. We'll get you covered. And I just got a beautiful email from a woman just a couple days ago that talked about the fact that her son was having trouble getting the assistance that he needed in the schools. He enrolled in an online school, and he is thriving. And she wrote me an email, a big email, about how much better her son was doing and how grateful that she was for all that. So let us get your name and figure this out. But look, we're not going to leave anybody behind. Not the men, and we're talking about autism. Separate that from mental illness, drug addiction, the working poor, the developmentally disabled. We want to make sure that your son is going to have a great life and that you don't have to bankrupt yourself to get this done. Nobody should have to go through that. So let's make sure that we get her. Okay, they'll collect it up. Yes, sir, right here.
Dr. Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton, which says he's going to take care of everybody, all the little problems.
Well, we're going to be free. Everything's going to be free. Doesn't it sound great? Yeah,
the
free.
1.5% that's going to pay for all this, I hope we can get them to do that, but how are you going to trust the national debt?
Well, first of all, if they're going to go with free stuff, then I'd like free golf, and I would like free Ben & Jerry's ice cream, you know. And, they're the big supporters of Bernie. Did you know that? And I like that New York fudge chunk. I can't have it till, we don't have to do this till after Lent is over, because I gave up ice cream. But then I want free stuff. Try it for a year, see how it works. Sir, when I was budget chairman, not only did we balance the budget, but we paid down $500 billion of the national debt. I don't see my debt clock here. I usually carry it around with me. It's not here tonight. But I will tell you, sir, that these numbers keep ticking up, ticking up, ticking up, ticking up. When I was there, the numbers actually came down, and we were growing jobs like crazy. There was no issue of income inequality, wage gap, or anything else. Things were cooking. And the reason why we don't balance a budget, you want me to tell you why? Well, it doesn't affect many people to balance the budget. It only affects farmers, doctors, students, veterans, seniors, teachers, nurses. It affects everybody. And what happens is we elect politicians. Let me have you think of it this way. How many of you were going to go to work on Monday and tell your boss that he or she is dead wrong and risk your losing your job? How many, come on, put your hands up. Let me see. Huh? Well, let me tell you something. What politicians are worried about is making their bosses angry. Because if there's one thing that a politician wants to be tomorrow, you know what it is? Elected, okay? So what you have to be able to do is resist the pressure from the special interest groups, which are all of us, to remember the big picture. Because if you are growing the economy and creating many jobs, you've achieved your goal. And what stops us is when people get weak. I'm going to tell you this. When I left Washington, sir, we had a projected $5 trillion surplus. Trillion. I came back to Westerville, and one of my buddies said, now that you and your buddies are gone, this thing's going to fall apart. I said, there's no way you could spend $5 trillion. You'd have to wake up every day and figure it out. They found a way. And you know who was in charge? The Republicans were in charge of everything. The House, the Senate, and the White House. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. Democrats love to spend. Republicans love to spend. They just feel guilty when they do it. Now, we have a couple legislators here tonight. And I'm glad you're here, Dave, because I just noticed you, because you can ultimately talk to that woman about that autism, because we've made the biggest step, and we'll finish the job. But let me also tell you, he will tell you that he gets pounded on every day for more spending, right? And I'll tell you what I've told him. We didn't come this far to go backwards. We're a $2 billion surplus. And you know what that says to the businesses around this country? Ohio's open for business. I will not allow us to fritter away that surplus. But since I'm going to be president, I'm going to deal with not only the spending that's going up, but also over time to reduce that national debt, sir. I've done it before. That's why I want to go back and do it one more time. But I can't go back there without you.
Sir, if you become president, you have said several times that you will work across the aisle. The American people are very upset. They're mad. People are voting for Donald Trump. They're voting for Cruz. They're voting for this. They're voting for that. Okay. Now, we got rid of John Boehner because he was too much with Obama. Okay? We're all unhappy with Mitch McConnell because he was too much with Obama. Okay, now we got Paul Ryan, who wasn't going to pass the budget, and he passed the budget. Okay, now, how are we going to work across the aisle without giving away everything? And we always kowtow to the Democrats. Why don't the Republicans stop being wimps? You know, don't we have a majority? Well, I feel like everybody else. And people don't have the guts to say it, and I do. Yeah. I'm running for president!
All right, listen, she's expressing the frustration that a lot of Republicans feel, but there's something deeper that's at work. And that is, we're worried about the security of our jobs. We're worried about the fact that our wages haven't gone up. We worry about the fact that we gave the bank our money, we didn't get a dime's worth of interest. And we're worried about all these things. And we're worried about, are people going to give away too much? Let me tell you, we won the majority in Congress. And some people wanted to make a deal to pass a phony budget. And I was involved in the government shutdown. I said, I didn't come all this way. I spent 10 years of my life to try to balance the budget. I wasn't about to cave at that point. See, we're back to my mother again. Screaming at the radio. My mother was very smart. And she said, you stand up. I'm a Republican and I'm a conservative. The Republican Party is my vehicle, but not my master. My job is to be an independent voice, to see the problem and fix it no matter who's posing it. The government reopened, okay? What is your name? Myra. The government reopened. The Clinton administration came to see me. I said, I'll tell you, they said, do you think we could try to work on this again? I said, I'll tell you what. I need entitlement reform. Will you give it to me? Yes. We have to have a real balanced budget. Would you give it to me? Yes. We have to cut taxes, not raise taxes. Will you do that? Because if you don't want to do it, there's no reason for us to talk. And you know what they said? Yes. and we cut the capital gains tax, and we cut the family tax credit. How do you think we got the budget balanced? By goofing around and playing the old games? It went back once I left with a bunch of my buddies. And how about in Ohio? Can you see a better result than the growth of 400,000 jobs? We're one of the fastest growing states in America. And people people in other countries, the Germans, the Brits, the French, the Chinese, the Japanese. You see what Japan is doing, investing in Honda and bringing a lot of their operations from Mexico back to the United States where we are? Why? Because we're not going to get weak. Now, we also tell you, we're not going to demonize the other people. We don't live in a parliamentary system. We live in a system where it requires some negotiation. And you probably like Ronald Reagan, didn't you? Yeah. Guess who he negotiated with all the time? Tip O'Neill. And we solved a lot of problems. But I think what you raise, which is, if the Republicans win, are you going to cave and all that other stuff? The fact of the matter is, how do you cave on policy that you know is going to lead to economic growth? So there's no caving. But I have a lot of friends, when I was back in Congress, Democrats who voted with us. There were some Republicans that would never vote with us. But they only got them to vote with us, and we passed these things that were welfare reform, balancing budgets. I mean, unbelievable stuff. Stuff we wanted for 40 years. So the fact is, you got to remain strong. You have to remain firm. And these guys will tell you what it's like dealing with John Kasich, right, Dave? I mean, you got to be firm because you're the CEO and you cannot play games or politics. So, ma'am, all I can tell you is what I've just told you tonight. And if I'm not, I'll come back to Mansfield and do a town hall, and I'm President of the United States, and you can sit right up here. And if you don't like it, you can tell me, Myra, okay? That's the right here.